Cool. Hello, everybody. Looks like we're live. Welcome to an awesemo.com live before lock show, taking you through the day's NFL slate, all the important action that you need to discuss before you make some lineups. Oh, there's my audio too. That's good. You got to do double me too, because we're so prepared on a Sunday. I'm Chris Spags, joined by the Chubster Josh Engelman, who is equally as motivated as I am to win some money today. How you doing, Josh?
I'm pretty good. I feel good. Last night was kind of ridiculous from an MMA perspective, so now I'm ready to get into some NFL.
Yes, that was a very white trash affair with everybody jumping in the ring, very Royal Rumble-esque, but I'm sure they'll make more money off of it, and it won't hurt anybody in the end. What are we doing for you so far in your crunches? What's coming up as you've put your lineups together?
Yeah, I'm trying to be a little bit lighter on that Atlanta-Pittsburgh game since that's where everybody appears to be. So Green Bay, Detroit, a lot of Carolina for me, a lot of the Miami-Cincinnati game. That's where I'm landing right now. What about you?
So I think one thing I noticed when we were doing the On Contrary show yesterday with Evan Silva, which didn't have a ton of time to review our ownership projections before going live. Kind of seems like everybody's taking that approach with Atlanta, Pittsburgh, where they're just like trying to get bits and pieces of it. Like Sanu's ownership is higher than Julio Jones, I think, in our projections. Let me just double check that's accurate. But if nothing else, they're comparable. And then like a lot of people are taking Vance McDonald according to our ownership projections.
Yeah.
Like I think you're going to be better off actually just taking the main guys, maybe besides James Conner, just because people are like trying to get cute with it. And a lot of people are smart and get like, hey, I just want a piece of this game. I just have to get a little bit of, but I don't think this is a game where you want to do that. I don't know. I think I'd rather get 13% Antonio Brown than 20% Vance McDonald.
I have exactly 20% Vance McDonald right now. That's interesting.
So you're with the Fields. I mean, it makes sense. But
no, he's way higher than that on FanDuel. I'm significantly under the field.
Okay, that's right. He's more expensive on FanDuel. I think I played one lineup. I didn't.
He is. I don't even have his DK price in front of me. It's 4,600 on FanDuel.
Yeah, 3,700 on DK. Yeah, I don't know. Sanu, we have projected for 10% ownership, but Julio's only 13. Like, I think people are getting a little cute with some of these games. Austin Hooper is at 10%. Like, play the guys who are important to the game, I think is what I would advocate for. And, we a lot of smart players out there who get kind of the concepts of lineup building and all that. But Atlanta-Pittsburgh just seems like a game. I don't see how you avoid that. I don't think it's going to be like a slow plotted game. I think there's a chance to running games get going, but it's going to score regardless.
Yeah, I tried to limit most of my exposure here, or at least most of my exposure for like big time stacks. So I'm like half the field on Matt Ryan, half the field on Boogs, but lots of James Conner, lots of Juju. I like the pieces of it, but I'm not sure I love the game stack of it. I like having different combinations of what's in here, but I'm trying to avoid the heavy combinations of it.
Yeah, I think so. Connor being so highly owned, I would have liked him more if his ownership kind of came down with the process of like him having 3 bad games in a row. I mean, he's really only had one good game. I think that's worth pointing out, or at least one game where he's been used to the best of his ability. Let's say. I don't know. I kind of feel like Connor's fadeable in this spot just because he's going to be highly owned, like the second highest owned running back or third highest owned running back. I don't know. That I want to be on James Conner there, given what we've seen and how Ben loves to throw it this year.
I can't imagine not being just all over those sorts of pieces. Who else is going to do it? Like he's got to be out there. There's too much. His floor is so high. I mean, like ignoring his awful performance against Baltimore, but they were kind of bad in general. Just there aren't other options for him. He just has to be out there for so many plays that I'm just going to take my chances on something going well there.
Yeah, I just think they throw the ball so much. I mean, Ben's throwing it up 47 times a game. And I think in these kind of games too, where the other quarterback is throwing it a lot, I think he tends to throw it even more. I think there's just some sort of weird dick measuring thing in their game planning. I do think the running backs make sense. Like I think Devonta Freeman too, in particular, makes a lot of sense as a pivot to what should be a popular David Johnson. 6,500 under 5% owned in this matchup where he's coming off of a questionable injury. Injury tag. I think people won't be on him. So I think it makes sense for him. But if Connor, everybody's going to be on him, like go to Aaron Jones, who's a lower owned.
Oh, that's a big time change.
Yeah, or I mean, even Yeldon's higher owned, but I like Yeldon more than Connor, to be honest.
I like them both for the same reasons. Like, there's just no alternatives.
I think there is an alternative though for Pittsburgh where they're just going to throw it and just be like, "Sorry, John," like or James. Sorry, John Connor from the Terminator.
Yeah.
We're not. We didn't mean to disappoint you and your future robot friend. But no, like I don't know. The option is just they just throw it 100 times.
Yeah, I mean, look, I still have a lot of Antonio Brown, a lot of Juju, a lot of Vance. I just want to have all of those guys because I think this game has the highest sort of ceiling, but I can see it being more spread out. So I don't need to have like a Roethlisberger, Connor, Schuster, Vance McDonald lineup all that often.
Mark Darcy in chat saying Ryan Switzer. I think he's an interesting play. He's more of a. I've actually played him in both showdown slates that Pittsburgh's been on for the main ones. He's more of that play. He basically does the passing role that Le'Veon Bell had because they don't trust Connor to do that, which I think also has hurt Connor's appeal a little bit. He's still getting the snaps and all that, but Switzer has taken some of that. So I think I wouldn't play him. I think it's a little too cute on a slate this big, but it's a thought.
Yeah, I don't have any of them.
How many QBs are in your player pool, Josh? Andrew Nava is asking.
9.
Like German for no? You don't have any?
Exactly. I'm playing 0 quarterbacks. It's a new stacking strategy. But yes, the answer is 9.
Are you going to tell him which? I don't know. Is that the follow-up question? Which ones?
Cam, Roethlisberger, Rodgers, Ryan, Rivers, Stafford, Dalton, Bortles, and Tannehill.
No Derek Carr.
No Derek Carr.
Okay, so Deep Dapiana 23 asking thoughts on Carr. Their offense is gelling together, and Chargers D isn't that good, and they're without Keyser White. Yeah, I actually have a fair amount of Carr, including in the Millionaire Maker lineup that I'm rolling out. Have a stupid amount of Millionaire Maker lineups tonight because of a couple of good top 10 finishes in preseason NBA. Thanks to Eddie Fear. Go watch his periscopes. But I think Carr's in a great spot. I like actually Jordy Nelson too is a guy who's been getting a lot of targets. I thought he was washed up, but maybe it doesn't matter. I mean, if he's getting 8 targets a game, I don't know. I think it's a really good spot, one that'll go under owned as well. So I am in agreement. I think Carr is a great play, and that stack is pretty interesting. Whole game stack.
Only guy I have coming out of Oakland is Jared Cook.
Cook is a good play too, but I mean, like I think Cooper's good. I think Nelson's good. I think Carr is good. I think they're not a ton of ownership, but it doesn't take a lot of ownership to get above the field on it.
No, I've already got 9, and he didn't make the top 9. So at best, I could say that I think he's the 10th best option today for me.
Fantasy football advice asking, I have 25% Carr. Why don't you like him? Is there a specific reason or just a price matchup thing?
I just like everyone else more.
Fair enough. How are you, Switzer or Scantling? Scantling, not Scatling would be a different thing entirely. Marquez Valdez Scantling, I think is playable. Switzer, I do not think so. Do you have any of Valdez Scantling?
I do, unfortunately. Similar to the field, so I have 6% right now. I have a lot more Devontae Adams, a lot more Jimmy Graham. I probably need to give a little bit more of a boost to Ty Montgomery.
Mm-hmm. That is one guy who I didn't get enough of in my lineups today, but it does make sense to consider Ty a little bit. But I do think Valdez Scantling will get a shot, and him having a week of practice with the first unit will be helpful, building that trust that Aaron Rodgers wants to see. And he's actually very explosive too. He was targeted downfield, I think like 20 air yards per target last week. So I think that there is an opportunity there for him to get something going tonight in a big way. So I don't mind having a little bit of him. We're projecting him for under 10% ownership, so it doesn't take a lot. What about Taiwan Taylor? I don't have a lot of them. How about you, Josh?
Last I looked, I had way more than I would have ever expected to get until I started digging into it a little bit more. I don't want to misquote it here. Yeah, so we were projecting him for 4% on FanDuel on my last update, and I had 13.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'd rather go Sanu in that price range than Taylor.
9 targets last week, growing by the week, only 5K.
But they needed it this week. They're going against Buffalo, and I don't know that I don't sense that they would need it. So to me, like I'd rather go Lewis or even Derrick Henry.
I have quite a bit of Lewis. I don't have much Derrick Henry, but I have Lewis and Corey Davis and Taiwan Taylor.
Would you?
I don't trust Buffalo.
would you use Marquez, Valdez, Scantling, and cash? Or one cash question for the week.
I
No.
probably not. I mean, if he was the last piece out of the 8 that you already like, fine. But I wouldn't. He wouldn't be a priority. That's a bit too cute, I think.
Yeah, I like him as a play for GPPs, but I don't think he's going to be owned enough in a cash game setting where he'd be useful. And I don't know that his floor is that great. We just haven't seen him in a full game, and I think he'll be better.
Like without question, at least on FanDuel, I would rather have Danny Amendola, and he's $200 cheaper.
Danny, I don't know about that. Danny Amendola, I've tried a couple Danny Amendolas, and I don't think he's involved in that game enough. I think the only guy I would go there is Stills. And Osmo loves Devontae Parker always, like as a human being for some reason. So I'm clear on why. I think actually yesterday though he did say Albert Wilson he liked more. Albert Wilson or Jakeem Grant, neither, but Wilson probably. Thoughts on the Viking stack with Cousins, Thielen, Diggs, maybe some Ertz coming back. I love that one and personally have that one. Fantasy football advice. So I think it's great. I think the Vikings-Eagles game is going way underlooked. I think people too are only looking at Cousins and nobody's looking at Wentz, and Wentz threw it 45 times last week, I think, or a little, maybe 42, something like that. And he's looking better and closer to form. And the Vikings obviously been getting carved up since the whole Everson Griffin thing kind of went to the shit. I think that's a great spot. What about you, Josh? Any Vikings Eagles exposure?
I have almost none of that game.
Wow. I'm surprised. It seems like a spot where I think you'd be on because the prices, I don't know if the FanDuel prices quite match. Like the prices are really good for the Eagles side, especially.
I have a little bit of Jay Ajayi, but that's really all, and a little bit of Lat Murray. But like I don't have any Diggs. I have some Thielen. Just not to me, that's just a spot that I don't need to be.
I just see that like that's the way the Vikings play. Like they go up and down, especially against like teams that are good and better than them. They just go up and down the field and they throw it all over and they can't really get it running. I mean, no Cook, I think is going to be a problem for them. I mean, not that he's been good this year at all. I don't know. I think
I could see that game being like 9-7.
Oh man, I could see it being like 35-35, and then and then somebody's going down the field to win it, and Thielen has 50 catches.
I hope that doesn't happen.
Oh man, actually I might I might get your sloppy seconds on him for our 100-yard pick because I think Thielen is a very, very good and safe 100 yards today.
Yeah, I don't blame you for following in my footsteps of taking Adam Thielen and being correct.
His warm
I'm
embrace.
a fan of being correct, and that made me correct. How many of those 100-yard guys do you have?
I've had none. Well, I think the thing you've been doing, which is obviously smarter, is picking high volume wide receivers, and I've just been picking assholes. So, so now I'm going to try to pick high volume wide receivers. I think that seems like
it's weird how that works. How some guys have better chances at this than others.
Hey, well, I think a lot of guys in that Eagles Vikings game have a great shot at 100 yards today. I think Nelson Aguilar led the league in air yards per week, which is the amount of yards that players are targeted downfield. He's not going to go 5 for 12 on targets in a softer defensive matchup than the Titans are. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff there I like a lot. So that game is very sneaky to me, and I would have some exposure to it if you're playing a bunch of lineups. Jimmy Graham. We talked about the Packers already, but do you have any Jimmy Graham?
A lot.
I too have a fair amount of Jimmy Graham, and he's my season-long tight end. So I somehow ended up being a very big Jimmy Graham guy after our preseason.
Yeah, you finally just started listening to me. It took you what 3 months to get on board with me? I got Jimmy Graham as my season-long top 10 tight end for sure.
Well, he's not. To be honest, I actually made a mistake because I cut Jared Cook instead of Graham, and I should have stuck with Jared Cook, obviously.
Fuck.
But for a sloppy seconds guy, Graham's okay. He's a top 10 guy. He's just not like a top 5 guy this year, I don't think.
He's no Austin Hooper.
No, I mean Austin Hooper is true. He is he's a great player who has done a lot of great things. He hasn't got enough opportunity, really. I thought it would pay dividends how much he was hanging out with Matt Ryan. Turns out Matt Ryan not a nepotist.
I cannot get Ty Montgomery in my lineup to save my life.
He is an interesting pivot to those cheap guys. A lot of people are going to play Corey Grant. Maybe not a lot, but enough people are going to play Corey Grant. Enough people are going to be playing Aaron Jones. Probably a little bit of Austin Eckler too. I think Montgomery makes sense, maybe too much sense, where they'll just give the opportunity to Scantling and keep Montgomery in the backfield.
Somebody's got to catch a damn ball here.
Devontae Adams.
I have double the field of Devontae Adams, but if it's not going well for the Packers, then I assume that the Lions are lighting their shit up.
Yeah, that's one thing I worry about. The Lions have been generating a lot of sacks, and I still don't believe that Aaron Rodgers is as mobile as he's been in previous seasons. I don't know. That need to me just hasn't looked right. I've watched enough of him where I just feel like he isn't himself, and I think him not being himself in that offense is pretty bad. And the Lions are generating pressure, so I wouldn't be shocked if it weren't as fantastic as a day for him as you might seem.
He could go 18 of 22 for 280 and 6 TDs today, and it wouldn't shock me. He's just weird.
Also,
like
not
that.
impossible. I will give you that.
Like he could just eviscerate them. Because even if he's not himself, he's still better than probably all but 4 other starters in the league.
Yeah, no, I get it. I do think Stafford is a more appealing option to me there, especially given the ownership we're projecting on Blake Bortles. I think I like Bortles this week too. I don't care about the weather in KC, but I think that if enough people are going to be on Bortles, it makes more sense to go to Stafford at home in a matchup. I think are they the underdog still?
I don't know. I have both Rodgers and Stafford at like multiples of their expected ownership.
Yeah, Stafford to me. Also, Tate going really underowned, and I get it's not for him. It's not a point chase thing. He just gets targeted a lot, and he had his big game last week. I still think, and people are going to Marvin Jones way too much on DraftKings according to our projections. I don't want to go to Marvin Jones if he's going to be in anywhere near 25% ownership, probably even 10%.
Yeah, I've got a lot of Taint, a lot of Galladay, a lot of Jones. I want a lot of this game in general, way more than the field does. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. I kind of thought that was going to be the natural pivot spot for a lot of the Pittsburgh, Atlanta folks who were trying to get cute, but they went elsewhere. I don't know. It was a weird ownership to me. Like I'm not sure. I kind of thought we'd have another update, which would maybe clarify it in a way that I was expecting, but it hasn't.
I seriously cannot get Ty Montgomery to show up in a damn lineup.
Probably a sign.
It probably is. I don't know what that's a sign of. What is this sorted by?
Sup, guys? Blake Bortles interest. Robert, I just sort of said that, but yes, I do like Blake Bortles. I think he's a little highly owned for Blake Bortles, but matchup makes sense. He plays a lot better without Leonard Fournette on the field. I think it's like a 24 point per game fantasy versus a 18 point per game fantasy for when he does have Fournette. So I think it makes sense. Obviously, the matchup too, you're going to have to put up some points, but the ownership, not the most appealing thing.
Yeah, I have half the field on FanDuel. I really like the spot. It's hard to avoid that sort of area. But I'm not the biggest Bortles fan because he's Chalk Bortles.
Yeah, Chalk Bortles not up like Chalk Dalton. Those are places. I mean, Chalk Dalton was okay, but he still unfortunately wasn't a top 5 scorer that week or top 3. But Bortles, whenever people are on Bortles, that's the time where you got to go, you know what? Maybe less Bortles.
Yeah, I can't avoid him completely just because of how putrid Kansas City's defense is. So he's not a flat 0 for me, but I can't get to 13% on FanDuel either. He's the second most owned quarterback behind Roethlisberger. So I'm basically fading those two guys by half and then redistributing elsewhere. So I'm way over the field on Cam, Aaron Rodgers, Rivers, Stafford, Dalton. That makes me comfortable.
I actually, fuck.
And then I have a decent amount of Tannehill, mostly because I also have a decent amount of Dalton. So that's like it's just a game that I'm pretty in on.
Yeah, I think that when people are not paying attention to that one, Jeremiah Johnson asking Tyler Boyd, can he keep it going? I think he's in a great spot to keep it going. People asking about Croft and Uzoma too. I think it's CJ Uzoma who gets the run this time. He's a little more athletic than Croft, but Croft has played well before, so it wouldn't surprise me either way. But yeah, I think that Miami-Cincinnati game is pretty interesting. And Kenny Stills too at 5,400. Guys had a couple bad weeks, seems due to bounce back. And Terrell Austin, the defensive coordinator for the Bengals, we talked about in the preseason videos and discussed how he's sneakily terrible. I think he's really bad, and I think he's making that Bengals defense worse every week. And I think a guy like Stills who can get open deep downfield is kind of in an ideal spot. That's one thing that jumped out to me.
Yeah, I like that game as a sneaky shootout.
Yeah, they're also playing at a pretty good pace to both of them. And the Dolphins were terrible last week. I mean, you got to come out trying to score, I think, after you put up 3 points and get embarrassed in a divisional matchup.
Woo! 2% Ty Montgomery. Fucking had to happen eventually.
Let's see. Just tuning in. Any love for Carr with Cooper, Jordy? Yes, some love. We talked about that before. I don't know where you'd scroll back to, but yeah, I think they're in a good spot. Josh is not as big of a fan. Nick Vannett. People asking about Nick Vannett. Good play as tight end. Just don't have the nuts to play him. Are you playing any Nick Vannett?
I don't remember seeing it pop up. Let me check.
I'd rather go $400 more and go to Uzoma personally.
I have a little bit of a net, more than the field. So I'm happy there.
I'm not buying into the Seahawks this week.
I also have Uzoma, so.
Okay. Good. I'm glad you like Uzoma. Osmo said that Russell Wilson was his Mitch Trubisky style pick of the week as a guy who's cheap and going to go low owned and could go off.
Yeah, I had a ton of them last week, and I'm getting buyer's remorse, and I'm not going back, and I feel like I'm going to feel the same way I did when I said I have Trubisky here, but I'm just not going to go to a ninth quarterback. And then he had 4 touchdowns in the first 20 minutes of the day. So if this happens like it did last week, Alex calls it. I think about it. He's the last guy I leave off, and it just eats dong.
So I think for me, the one thing that I would say is I do think variances do when you have good coaches behind you. I really don't believe in Brian Schottenheimer. I really don't believe in what they're doing. And I think I kind of was hoping that Russell Wilson would get a little more ownership behind him before he became a less chalky option. But they're just not good. And they're getting more and more dejected and worse by the week. And it's just not a spot I want to get on board with them. Like Trubisky, it made sense. Like beating up on a shitty team with like coaches who I had said before, like very McVay, like want to beat up on people and run up scores. And they did that the first chance they got. And I think that's where you want to be with that kind of variance. Whereas like a quarterback who's having like a real shit season, who's getting sacked a lot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Freaks me out.
Look, I agree. I can't get there. So we can be wrong together.
Yeah, we'll be wrong together while Alex wins $1 million that pays our salaries with Russell Wilson.
Look, I'm fine with that too.
True. The outcomes still benefit us. That's all that matters. Let's do our 100-yard pick.
Uh-oh. You still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you froze a little bit there, and I got nervous.
Oh yeah, my internet connection is unstable. No, I think it's okay. What the fuck was that? Yeah, Adam Thielen for me would be my pick.
Okay. If you need to take a 2-minute break to go get some mouthwash to rinse the taste of me out of your mouth, go ahead. I can talk about what I need to talk about. But I'm going to go with Devontae Adams.
Okay. Those are both great picks.
I might need to find like a seamstress or something because I think that you're going to rip off my coattails.
Oh my God. It's just you were right that the approach is just to take a guy who's going to get a bunch of targets who they're going to need to throw. And I think that's honestly, it's probably Thielen every week. I might just be like the Adam Thielen pick every single week.
I love that you're like, guy. Oh, you were right. I did not come up with something revolutionary here. I took guys that I thought might actually get a lot of 100 yards. You know, guys that play pretty regularly.
Sterling Shepard was a good pick last week. I mean, he was still a really good play. I mean, I enjoyed having him. I have some more of him this week too. I think he's under-owned, given that it's still the same situation. He didn't get 100 yards.
That's such a weird way to say that. I enjoyed having him.
I do rate the experience like Yelp. Like, do you enjoy when you're with the guy? How does he treat you?
He had 10 targets for 77 yards. You weren't wrong.
Yeah, no, he just didn't get there. And Eli's so bad, man. I watched that game. Eli was the worst.
Well, yeah, that I tried to tell you.
Oh, you had DeAndre Hopkins.
How did that go?
And he got 100. You got it. You're up 2-0.
Oh, I don't even remember getting it last week. Ha! Suck a dick.
Yeah, well, that was helped by Fuller getting hurt, I think. But
or just utter genius.
Sure, both. But again, high target, number one receiver type guys. Today, Thielen's the pick. Watch Thielen get 30 yards.
Oh, this is going to be the dig.
10 targets, 30.
I might need to up my exposure to digs now and lower my Thielen. In fact, I'm going to do that.
No, it honestly makes sense.
Because I want to get a little bit of juice out of you failing.
I have both Cousins and Diggs and Thielen stacks running back with Ertz. So that game, I think, has got a shot at being the hammer on the slate. Everyone keeps talking about Derrick Henry. I want Deion Lewis. Chip Thompson, I agree with you. Deion Lewis, a good play.
Oh, I have way too much Dion Lewis every single week. His numbers last week were real putrid.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Still get a bunch of
got me
targets, though.
nervous. I don't trust that team.
They're
But
a
I
weird
also
team.
have double the field of Dion Lewis, so let me be clear here.
Somebody had asked about defenses, and I think I missed it. Who are the defenses in your pool today?
Whoever just shows up, I set a really low
Oh, that's right.
exposure and basically let it rip. I'm not about to start hashing through that stuff. I'll never have. Let me hop to it quick. I'm not going to be following the 29% chalk to the Titans. I have no one more than 12%. So Ravens, Titans, Bengals, Niners, Bills, Steelers, Browns. These are all teams that I'm getting a bunch of, but I can't just. I don't trust the position.
That's fair. I did pay up for the Titans a little bit just because I think I was on the Packers and it ended up being they were very low owned last week, which is bizarre. People really forgot, like, oh yeah, Josh Allen not good. Just because he beat the Vikings one week didn't mean that he was a good player. Yeah, I think to me, like, I'm willing to pay for that. And I mentioned this yesterday on the Contrary show, so I'm not trying to rehash the same viewpoints.
Jesus, that
But
was yesterday.
I know, God, there's so many shows, so much entertainment on this channel. It's hard to keep track.
Well, I was up until after 2:00 in the morning, just in case there was like a wholesale riot outside of T-Mobile Arena last night between Irish people and the Dagestanis. So I wanted to make sure that if something crazy happened, that I was awake for it, and then I just couldn't keep my eyes open any longer.
That's fair. The East Coast timing for UFC is not the best.
Oh my god, Katie wanted to watch the UFC, and she's like, "What time do you think that fight will be?" I was like, 12:30 at best. She was like, "I can't. What do you want me to do here?" I was like, "I'll probably go to bed."
It is really the one big advantage of the West Coast. The timing for sporting events does get a lot more appealing.
Yeah, she got I can't. I'm not going to stay up till 12:30.
What about my defenses, by the way, I like the Jets D. I think I talked about this yesterday. I think the narrative behind that whole thing too, with Casey Rogers is out, their defensive coordinator, dealing with a serious illness. The head coach Todd Bowles and him have been best friends for a very long time. I think that D is going to play with a little motivation today against the quarterback who's been getting sacked and picked a fair amount in Case Keenum. So I think they're interesting. I like the Titans still. I'm willing to pay the freight for them just because I think it's a good matchup and everybody can beat up on Josh Allen, and they generate enough of a pass rush where I think they can do it as well. Broncos going against Darnold, I think also interesting for that reason. I have a little bit of Browns, which I think is interesting, just because Flacco can Flacco sometimes. The Browns have been a very good defense despite getting beaten up for the most part. I think that's got to regress to the mean a little bit. They're at home. I don't know. I think both Browns and Ravens have a little appeal to me.
I have some Landry. That's the only thing I have in that game outside of like just randomness.
Yeah, I don't think I have much position player wise. I think it's going to be one of those smash mouth kind of games that I don't know. It seems like it should be more of a passing game, but I think the Ravens defense is going to be better, and I think the Browns defense will stiffen up a little bit at home. It's an AFC North game. Those games always get like chippy, and I don't know. Are we all in on MVS? We are not all in on MVS. We are slightly in on MVS.
Oh, now he's just an acronym? Good God. I barely even know his actual name.
That guy called him Scatlick before.
Yeah.
Just
he's a 2024 third round draft pick in a Madden season.
He is. Or they all have futuristic like hybrid names.
Yeah, he went to Southeast Tennessee State or something stupid.
I'm with you there. Cody Hazelton asking about David Johnson or McCaffrey. I guess let's talk about David Johnson in general. He's projected to have a lot of ownership. I guess people thinking this is the week that he'll get back on track. How much Johnson do you have?
More than you, probably.
That's actually probably very inaccurate. You made enough small dick jokes where no man would do that.
No, I've got an average Johnson, but I've got an above average exposure to David Johnson. So he's 17% on FanDuel. I've got 31 right now.
Yeah, I think I was surprised. So our ownership projections have David Johnson and Larry Fitzgerald projected to be above 20% ownership. I don't see how Larry Fitzgerald's going to get that owned. I like him. I think he's actually an okay play, and I have more of him than I would have thought the field would have. But I would have no problem with David Johnson. I would not play Larry Fitzgerald at 20% at volume.
I am playing 0 Larry Fitzgerald. The only thing I have in this game is just doubled up David Johnson. I'm hoping he just finally does David Johnson type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure he won't.
I actually have a couple game stacks of this game, to be honest. I think I'm doing the mini max though, so like I have 150 on DK and that plus some other ones. So I do have some Beathard and Rosen game stack things. I think it could be a game that puts up points, and I don't know. It's tough because I think this in basketball sometimes too, where you have two up tempo teams, but they're bad, and then they both just like suck and miss a ton of shots. That doesn't really help out that much. And that could be the case for this game, but Beathard was kind of competent last week versus a better team. And I think Rosen was kind of competent also versus a better team. It seems to me like a spot where there could be some scoring.
I just can't trust it. I don't know. Who knows? Look,
Nor should you.
Mitch Trubisky had 6 touchdowns in the first half or whatever last week. Anything can apparently happen in the NFL.
If I were to game stack that game, I think Fitzgerald is a part to consider. I would go naked Rosen or Rosen with Johnson, I think is okay. And I think also going Beathard, Marquise Goodwin is out, so Garcon and Kittle should be more important. I think it's an interesting spot to me for Beathard at home. Very competitive guys, what some of the quotes said last week, and his teammates really like that.
Both of these offenses are straight shit. Rosen, Beathard, Breida. Oh my God.
I don't mind them. They're not good, but like from a fantasy perspective, like can they get you if you want to go like let's say like Antonio Brown and Julio in the same lineup, or you want to get Connor and Brown, or Connor and Julio, whatever. They get you there.
This is the game where Christian Kirk has 12 targets and 180 yards and 3 TDs.
But would it shock you? Not at all.
Anything coming out of that game is going to be ridiculous because both teams are putrid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I hope I don't see a single thing happen in that game. They're going to be like, oh, we're cutting to Arizona and San Francisco where Trent Taylor going for 35 yards. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, I will definitely
Ricky
have
Seals-Jones with the first down catch.
Ricky Seals-Jones rumbles and stumbles for 75 yards and a score.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
There's going to be a lot of scoop and score. I mean, you should probably like the defenses in that game. I see a scoop and score Niners fumble for a touchdown on the horizon.
That's not impossible. I could see that game definitely. Like I could see me having exposure to that game and still missing the guys and being really mad about it. Like if Christian,
because it's like 7 different guys that are just bad.
Yeah, no, you're right, but I'm giving it a shot. I tried to go with the guys I can trust. I'm trying to go with the guys I can trust. But
I have a little bit of Kittle. That's it.
Kittle's a guy you can trust, I think. How's the weather in KC? The last I saw was it was going to rain. I don't know what it is currently because we're doing a show.
I mean, it's probably still going to rain.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But supposedly rain doesn't matter. Is what Evan and Alex said yesterday. Was that what matters is wind. Rain doesn't matter, and in fact, rain can actually benefit a passing offense because defenders are more likely to slip on coverage.
I got really nervous by Nikita Hirsch's chat message of Cook is out. I was like, oh no, I had to scramble, and I was like, oh, it's Dalvin.
Stupid Dalvin. Though, it'd be funny is if this were the week where like Latavius Murray has 3 touchdowns.
I have quite a bit of Latavius Murray actually.
It's an interesting play. I still think it's a passing game there.
He's only 1% projected in our ownership right now on FanDuel. I don't know if that's gotten refreshed or not. I guess I should probably take a look at that.
Makes sense.
We did get ownership at 1203, so I have like 7 or 8% of him just because if he's unowned and he's the only running back in there, I'll take at least a little bit of a shot.
Marcos, on the contrary, is the GOAT show. Thank you, Marcos. Yes, please watch On the Contrary with me, Awesomeo, and Evan Silva. Usually Saturdays at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, 1:30 Eastern. It's a fun show. Lots of good information coming out, hopefully. Matt Ryan or Jared Goff in season long today, I'd go, well, if you're trying to play against the field, I would go with Jared Goff. No, it'd probably just Matt Ryan.
I don't answer my wife's season long questions, so you can imagine where that answer is going to go from me.
Fair enough. Is today the day for Julio to find the end zone? Maybe. I'd rather.
Hope not.
Is Sanu point chasey? Do you think? Like he's getting targets, but he just had like a really big game last week, and I kind of looked at it more, and it's like it feels a little point chasey.
I mean, well, what are you trying to do with him? At how much ownership?
I don't know. A lot of things.
I mean, well, like he's 7% owned on FanDuel. If you told me you had 7% Sanu, I'd be like, yeah, that seems reasonable.
I think he's closer to 10%. I didn't see our most recent update, so that's my bad.
Like, I think that's where he should be.
Okay. Yeah, I think I might be around. I might be a little above that. I like him just as the Ridley pivot because he gets more targets than Ridley for the most part. Actually, he does get more targets than Ridley. Half target more per game thus far. And he had a ton of targets last week, and I don't know. I like Sanu, but I feel like I'm just kind of he's going to regress, and then Julio's just going to be the only one with the day.
Look, Atlanta's not a great team on the road. I'd rather just have like very tiny bites at this apple. I'm not going to Ridley at all. So I'm sure he's going to score 2 more TDs because it's the only thing that he does. Like I trust Pittsburgh in a home game so much more. That's why I'm so massively like mashing Connor, Brown, Schuster, and Vance. I've got a lot of juju, man. I'm hoping that's good juju, like not bad juju.
I think Juju's a great play. Though I think Brown's the better play just because people are off him. Oh, Emac in the chat. One of our contributors as well, who does some of the shows for us, at EmacDFS on Twitter. Spags loves Sanu until I heard he has 3 or 4 total career 100+ games on one of the podcasts he listened to. Yeah, I think Sanu, if he's getting a ton of ownership, it's not great to have Sanu. And he is not much lower owned than Julio and Calvin Ridley. So I don't know if the edge is really there to go to Sanu today.
So one team we haven't talked about. What do you think of Carolina today?
I actually do like Carolina. I think Carolina's in a good spot. I think Newton, McCaffrey, and Funchess would be the only ones I would go to, though.
That's exactly what I have.
Yeah, and then run it back with Odell, or maybe Odell and Sterling. I think is not bad.
I have quite a bit of Odell, quite a bit of Sterling, and I actually have quite a bit of Barkley.
I see, like Barkley, I never play, and I'm probably wrong on that, and I should probably start doing that more. But if I do play him, I play him at very low volume. I just don't think I think he's higher priced than he should be for kind of his role in that offense, and because people just like him, people think like he's the hot rookie, first round pick guy. I'd rather pay up a little more and get McCaffrey, or pay up a little, or pay down and get David Johnson.
Yeah, Barkley is the 4th most expensive running back on FanDuel today. I'm kind of nervous that I have too much of him. I'm starting to think about knocking that back a bit. I just don't know where that ownership's going to go. Let's test it out. How much time do I got? 14 minutes?
Yep.
Plenty of time.
Oh, give us a like, by the way. We're going to start promoting this more. If you are watching the video, it does help us out with algorithms and all that, so give the videos a like. So help us get the channel more popular, get you more better information, more better information, more
the
better
wordsmith.
No, give us a like, please. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We're doing tons of content, many of which as great as this. I know that's hard to believe.
I know, and that other content is like probably more better than this content.
might be slightly more better. Marvin Jones sneaky versus Green Bay. Marvin Jones is not sneaky at all. He's projected to be very highly owned.
Yeah, no, that's you're not on the sneak tip on that one.
I think one thing that a lot of people who, like myself included, I kind of had to learn this. Nothing you think is sneaky is usually sneaky, because everybody knows the same things for the most part. Unless you are like doing an insane amount of research on your own, like at a professional level, like nothing is sneaky anymore. So, and Marvin Jones is literally the opposite of sneaky.
Yeah, I mean, Marvin Jones is projected for like 17% ownership. If you want to tell me, I can't even find like a really good example. Who would be somebody in this game would be a good example? I think Laffy had a really good one. He mentioned Cortland Sutton on the show beforehand. Like, that would be sneaky if you wanted to have extra Cortland Sutton, because he's not going to be owned. But you can't name someone that's 17% owned and wonder if you're pulling the wool over somebody's eyes.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, Cortland Sutton, I think, is an interesting play too. Like, he was really good on that Kansas City game. He just kind of didn't get a few passes that connected with him because of either his faults or Keenum's or penalties. But yeah, like that is sneakier. Like, and I think sneakier now is like guys who are just in not great spots. Like Kirk Cousins is sneaky today, or like Carson Wentz is sneaky. Like, it's just like the low cheap flyer guys no longer sneaky for anybody. Like we've had like Marquez Valdez Scantling as a nickname now. Like there's nothing sneaky anymore that about just cheap guys.
Yeah, this guy. Yeah, exactly. There's too much
Like,
information out there, man.
there is, and you got to think about it differently. And that's really what I've been trying to do with basketball. It's been really good for preseason. I kind of something crystallized for me with that, and I feel like it's been working well. Hopefully, it pays dividends in football. We'll find out.
Oh, fuck
Albert
basketball.
Wilson everywhere. Carlos 781 sleeper. No Albert Wilson.
I have a decent amount.
I don't. Yeah, I like Tannehill a little bit, but I like Tannehill with stills or Tannehill naked.
I bet you do.
Nice. Yeah, his wife is a Tannehill too. She's very attractive. Running late. Who you like better, Yeldon or Lynch? Who do you like better, Yeldon or Lynch? Assume it's got to be Yeldon.
Tell me I did this again. Hold on. I did. Oh my god, why does this keep happening?
DJ Dog, I would go Yeldon. Lynch would be the lower owned one though, so there might be some equity in Lynch. I'm hungry.
I'm aggravated.
Are we? These are our 7 dwarf names. Aggravated would not be a fun dwarf. Or a Smurf.
Once again, like my sheet refreshes and moves my personal ownership onto different people. I got a bug in here somewhere, and it's causing me like major problems. I'm gonna eat shit tonight. Now,
that's not great.
No, not at all. I don't understand how it keeps happening. All of my quarterback exposures have changed now, and I have like really awkward amounts of everybody.
You should dig into it on the process. As people watch you trying to fix your sheet for an hour, that would actually be pretty interesting.
Oh, dude, that's so brutal.
Not ideal, but it is part of your process.
I don't understand how it's happening. I need to track this in some other way. All right, so 7% here.
Chris Cox, I'm thinking the 4:00 games are where the money is to be made. I think so too, Chris Cox. Actually, I think a lot of people are overlooking with the ownership in some of those games. I think people are a little too singularly, a little myopic from what I've seen from ownership projections.
Stafford, 21.
If you are desperate, by the way, for lineups, go sign up for a free week at Awesemo.com. Get all of our ownership projections to help you as you make your final choices right now. You can see who's owned, who's not. It really helps you when trying to get ahead of the field. Join now. Promo code Contrary, CONTRARY. We need one for this show.
We can make one, man. I have that ability.
Just give. We'll talk about this, but we need one for each show.
Sure.
Sonny just randomly pick one out of a hat and give it to him. But promo code Contrary, go check out our projections and Awesemo's rankings. And he might have an article up. I didn't check before it came on. Ertz monster day incoming when he catches a touchdown. Yes, Ertz very due for some positive touchdown regression. He's one of the guys, I think the most due in the league for that. So Ertz is a very good play, and he would be even if he didn't catch a touchdown, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
Wentz is extremely sneaky. I agree. Dapiana 23. I don't think the Vikings D can solve their problems in 1 week. Just arrived. You got a lot of Adams, Josh. How come? Good call, but just wondering your reasoning. Ryan Morales asks.
Really like that game, so I like getting Adams coming back with a Lion stack, and I just like having the Packers in general.
Yeah, and Darius Slay gets a little overhyped as a shadow corner too. I have no matchup wise. I don't give a shit about Darius Slay. I think he sucks.
Well, there you go.
Well, I know people he is one of the guys because I think he was good, a year or two ago in shadow, and I think that's where a lot of people kind of retain their biases for who's a good shadow corner. Like people still thought Revis was good when he was getting burned over and over again. People got to update their DB knowledge sometimes. Another guy who's also not good now, Casey Hayward, who Evan Silva confirmed, also not good now. So people who are afraid of him in the matchup with Amari Cooper might not be logical to be afraid because Casey Hayward might be bad now. #bad.
#bad.
How many carries are you guys projecting for Aaron Jones? I don't know about how many carries. I would say probably between 10? 13 and 10 and 15.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can give that answer.
I think he's got to get a few more this week, and the matchup also fits for him too. Lions very bad at run defense, so I would say closer to 13 to 15, but 10 to 15 would be my safe projection.
We have him projected for 11.
Yeah. All right. I'm a little more bullish on him then. He deserves more touches. He's the best running back in that backfield by far. It's
I mean,
stupid that they
honestly,
don't
if
play.
the question is about carries, then it doesn't matter. Who the fuck cares about carries at this point? This is a very different NFL.
Well, for Jones, that's his only way of value because he's not getting a lot in the pass game.
Yeah, but there's no difference in between 11 and 15 carries. If you're getting 11 or 15 carries, you still need someone you need one of those to be a 70-yard run to be even relevant in fantasy. Like him getting 3 more carries isn't changing anything. You still need him to get to 25 plus fantasy points.
Well, I think for him though it does a little because he is a home run back. And I think what's his average this year? His average is like 6.3 yards per carry. So I mean, he's got a really high yards per carry average. So I mean, him breaking one isn't impossible. And I think it is. It's not. You're right. It's not super helpful, but I think in terms of justifying his price and playing him, I think assuming the fact that he'll get a couple more at bats and shots at just breaking one, I think would be helpful to know.
Yeah, I just mean like if you take his projection and then add 3 more carries, you're changing him from like an 8-point fantasy player to like an 8.75 fantasy player. But in all actuality, you're using him for a very different scenario. It's not changing the way you would use him. You're looking at a game script and then popping it in. It doesn't that's not changing. Now, if you knew he was going to get a bunch more targets, I think that's different because you're at least getting points out of those sort of things.
Okay, that makes sense. The one thing though, his rushing TD rate is pretty high, 6% rushing TD rate. So he is converting his touches into them, whether that be a function of where he is getting the carries or if it's him breaking one. He does do that. So I think, for him, whatever, it probably doesn't matter that much, but I like him getting more touches than less. How do you guys feel about Kirk this week? I love Kirk, and I think that game is great.
I have 0.
Y'all are 2 arrogant MFers. PJ Clemens, you suck.
I mean, to be fair, he's absolutely right.
I don't know that we're too arrogant. We're hosting a show. You talk about things like authoritatively. That's what you're supposed to do.
I mean, you and I are pretty arrogant.
I feel like I'm very down to earth. If people are right, I'm very down to earth. If you're wrong and saying dumb shit, then yes, perhaps.
Well, then we're constantly arrogant. Think about what we're talking about. It's a chat on the internet, man.
It's a fair point. Either way, PJ Clemens, you suck, and I hate you. Good luck. I need a spreadsheet like that. You should probably watch the process shows with Josh and whoever else that he has.
They will be coming up very shortly on a day-to-day basis.
Arrogant, sure, but they have to read really dumb crap all day. It's also like it's not. I don't know if that arrogance is the right word choice.
I think it is the perfect word choice.
No, because arrogant means like you're like acting like an asshole to people for like some reason that's like undeserved. Like I would never. I'm very friendly to everybody.
Oh, chat's gonna light you up right now.
I know. I mean, no, like there are just some dudes in chat who suck, but like I don't. Today we haven't even meeting anybody in chat.
Not yet.
No.
3 minutes to go.
Until PJ Clemens, who sucks and should die.
Oh man. See.
That's obviously a joke. Can anybody arrogant smile that much after telling somebody to die? No.
Maybe.
I'm liking Eckler more and more. Oakland D is extremely slow. I think that's not the reason to play Eckler. The reason to play Eckler is that it'll probably be a blowout and he'll get extra carries in the fourth quarter in addition to doing his nasty stuff that he does throughout a game. But I like Eckler too, though. I think he's a pretty logical pivot to Aaron Jones.
Mike Jones. Who?
Aaron
3 minutes.
Jones or Ty Montgomery? Aaron Jones for me.
Ty Montgomery.
Hope that field holds up in Pittsburgh. I mean, yeah, that'd be helpful. But if it doesn't, guys will be slipping. Tacklers all over the place on the floor.
I'm not going to get this in time, and I'm going to lose my mind. I have guys in that aren't playing.
Oh, man. They going to make you lose your mind up in here. Are they going to make you go all out, though, up in here?
Dude, we're talking about actual money here.
I'm just filling the air. You don't have to actually reply.
Oh, this is so fucking bad.
Red Rifleman takes down the Millie on FanDuel. Possible. I don't know that he has the point upside, though, overall, especially with Mixon back. It's a different offense with Mixon, and Mixon does touch the ball more. Even if Marvin Lewis says he's going to get less touches, he touches the ball enough to change that offense and the way it functions.
Super, super bad.
Pittsburgh ATL is going to finish 17-10 with 2 Connor TDs. I get wanting to play that angle. Those defenses are very bad. And Atlanta's defense in particular is very bad. And they're on the road. They're going to have to throw anyway. I don't foresee that occurring. Any Mixon? I don't know. Josh is figuring out what he has and doesn't have right now. I do have a little bit of Mixon. I think he's an interesting play. I want to make sure he's healthy, but the opportunity will be there. I think they make sense.
Probably not going to matter because I have no idea what I'm playing now.
You're probably playing Gio Bernard.
I just went from I have to refresh this because I have guys in that. I mean, I got Allison after not having him all day. So whatever changed in my sheet, just put in like a bunch of dudes that I know aren't even playing. And I've got 15 seconds to try to update this export. That's not going to happen. So I'm going to eat all of my money today. It's really exciting.
Gruber. Would you play Gurley or save the money on FanDuel and go Connor? I would play
1 o'clock. Cool.
Oh,
awesome. It was a good day, guys. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow or something.
This is like the Ralph Wiggum. This is how a man's heart breaks in slow motion.
I hope those 9% Geronimo Allison lineups do well.
He probably appreciates your support in a time where he's had a tough week.
Guys, I'm playing guys that aren't fucking playing today. It's not like you'll probably get it. No, it's dramatically incorrect shit. I'm playing guys that aren't on the field.
Well, hey, Josh, if I win the Millionaire Maker lineup, even though you didn't help my lineup out, I'll send you out to LA to make it better.
I should just quit playing the NFL is what I really need to do.
Hey, NBA has been great. NBA has been a lot of fun. Preseason NBA has been coming along for me.
What are you gonna do? It's just money, right?
Yeah, you're fine. You'll get it back tomorrow. We'll all get it back tomorrow. Oh God, come on, PJ Clemens, don't pull that on me. Don't pull that card. We already got enough sad things in here with Josh, but obviously we're joking, PJ. Just don't be mean.
Oh man, let's go, guys that I have, I guess.
Yeah, let's go Josh's limited pool of players. Let's go my much less limited pool of players. Let's go Marquez Valdez-Scantling, MVS to all his pals. Good luck to everybody out there. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Keep your eyes peeled for more content coming this week. We've got NHL in swing. We've got NBA ramping up. Eddie Fears doing his preseason NBA stuff every day. Obviously, on the contrary, every Saturday, Josh doing process shows where he'll teach you how to not do this thing that he did today.
Yeah,
lots of good stuff. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you again soon. And we love you, Josh.
Good luck.